It's been a while since we made this video. We still kite in cold weather conditions, but how we do it has changed a lot over the past few years. While some of our tips remain the same, our opinion on others is quite a bit different than it used to be. In this video, we'll be sharing with you our updated 14 tips for cold weather kiting. Let's get into it. Number 1, safety first. Of course, safety is key no matter the time of year, but in those cold winter months, it's especially important as things can go wrong quickly. As always, let someone know where you're going. Make sure your gear is in good working order and check that your harness knife is accessible and sharp. We all know that kiting alone isn't nearly as much fun as kiting with a friend, and during those colder winter months, kiting with a friend is definitely the safest option. It's also a good idea to have a whistle on you, just in case something goes wrong and you need to get someone's attention quickly. Wearing a bright color so you're easy to spot in case of an emergency is another tip we recommend. Number 2 is to opt for quality over quantity. This perhaps is the biggest change for us over the past few years, as we used to kite every chance we could, regardless if the wind was light or gusty. We still kite a lot, but we've become more selective when it comes to our winter sessions. If we're going to suit up and brave the cold water, we look for a decent forecast. Steady wind, bonus points if the sun is shining. And yes, we do have a few less sessions total at the end of the year, but on average, our sessions are much more enjoyable than they used to be. Number 3 is know the conditions and avoid below freezing temperatures. In winter, you don't want any surprises on the water. It's important to know what to expect before you get on the water. If you've got the option, stick to the kite spot with the safest conditions. The reason we don't recommend kiting in below freezing temperatures is because you'll have ice forming on your gear. This can be dangerous, especially if your safety release freezes up. Freshwater freezes at 0 degrees Celsius and saltwater freezes at negative 1.8 degrees Celsius. As a general rule of thumb, we won't kite in air temperatures below that. Number 4 is to opt for a Drysuit or a 6.5mm wetsuit during those cold winter months. For those days when the temperature is hovering just above 0, we're almost exclusively in our dry suits. If you're curious what the differences are between a wetsuit and dry suit, make sure to check out this video here. What you choose comes down to your personal preference, but for us, a dry suit allows us to layer underneath for optimal warmth and comfort. Just make sure the zipper is completely closed and that your seals are maintained and in good shape. When it comes to our winter wetsuits, we've upgraded from the back zip 5mm suits to hooded front zip 6.5mm suits. It has honestly made a noticeable difference in our overall warmth and the duration of our winter sessions. Number 5 is to opt for a smaller kite. One thing to keep in mind is that cold air is denser, which means it packs more of a punch. Here in Canada, cold weather sessions also tend to be gustier, so it's important to factor in the conditions when selecting your gear and kite size. It all ties back to knowing the forecast and conditions and having safety in mind at all times. Number 6 is to invest in high-quality gear. Now that doesn't mean going and buying the most expensive wetsuit on the market, but rather understanding what to look for when selecting your gear. If you're curious to learn more, check out this video here. For years, I was guilty of trying to make mediocre wetsuits warmer, but the fact of the matter is layering rash guards under a cheap wetsuit just wasn't a substitute, and it offered very little extra warmth. Now that I've finally invested in proper gear, I stay much warmer on the water than I ever did before. Of course, this extends beyond just wetsuits. Neoprene hoodies are a favorite among winter kiters for good reason. They add an additional layer of warmth and protection against wind chill. Also, if your wetsuit or drysuit doesn't have an attached hood, it's not a bad idea to add one. Keeping your head and neck protected can make a big difference on those cold days. Number 7 is to choose the right booties and gloves for the conditions. Hands and feet are the first things to get cold. If you can get a proper pair of neoprene mitts and booties for winter riding, you'll be much more comfortable during those cold water sessions. Pre-curved mitts and open palm mitts are popular choices, as are thick winter booties. And while we're on the topic of booties, it's worth mentioning Velcro straps. If you find that cold water splashes up your legs while riding, Velcro straps are the easiest way to prevent that from happening again. Number 8 is to wear a life vest. While some have argued with us that you're buoyant enough with a thick wetsuit or drysuit, we still recommend wearing a life vest for cold water kiting. Especially in the case of a drysuit, which if it were to fail would lose all the added buoyancy once the trapped air escapes. For comfort, we often wear our life vests under our drysuits. Admittedly, the water is pretty shallow here at our home spot, so sometimes we opt not to wear a life vest. That being said, if we're in a deep water spot or in the open ocean, we always wear our life jackets. Number 9 is to change at home, both before and after a session. Of course, there are circumstances where this may not make sense, but it's just so much more pleasant to change in a warm and dry place if you can. It also helps to not get cold before you even get on the water. If you have to change at the kite spot, a couple tips would be to park your car so it's blocking the wind as you change. A winter poncho is a nice option to have. Also, having a mat for changing keeps your feet and your gear clean of dirt and debris. And don't forget to use that plastic bag to change into your winter wetsuit quickly. Number 10 is to warm up before each session. It's important to warm up and stretch before your cold winter kite sessions. This will stimulate blood flow to your muscles, which will help to keep you warm. Better yet, by incorporating this practice into your pre-session routine, it will help to prevent injury. Number 11 is don't take unnecessary risks. Once you start to feel cold, especially your hands and feet, it's a good sign that it's time to end your session. Shivering, slurred speech, confusion, sleepiness, and fumbling hands are all signs of hypothermia. Hopefully you or your fellow kiters never experience this, but in case of an emergency, seek medical attention and get the person to a warm place immediately. The fact that you're kiting in these cold weather conditions is impressive enough on its own. There's no need to push for maximum time on the water. Except that winter sessions will be shorter. If you're working on a new trick, it's best to practice it early. Other risks you should avoid include kiting further from shore than you can swim back, or going out in sketchy conditions. If you drop the kite, break a line, or the wind changes unexpectedly, you can wind up in a lot of trouble, so it's best to play it safe. Number 12, be ready to pack up and go. Perhaps the coldest part of winter kiting is when the session is over. Because of that, we always have a game plan to pack up and warm up as quickly as possible. Some simple preparation can save you from standing in the wind, half undressed, searching for a poncho buried under a bunch of in the car. On that note, it's also not a bad idea to have a plastic bin in your car for all your wet stuff. This keeps the inside of your car dry and it's easier to deal with once you get home. Number 13 is to bring a regular pair of mitts and boots. It's really nice to have a dry pair of mitts and boots for when your kite session is over. And while you're at it, bringing a thermos with tea is a nice way to warm up while on the beach or when you're heading home. We used to recommend bringing a second thermos of hot water to pour into your wetsuit. We don't recommend doing this anymore. Pouring hot water into your suit could potentially damage the seams. It's not really necessary with an appropriate winter wetsuit anyway. Number 14, the last tip, our favorite tip, remains the same. The best kind of cold weather kiting is when you travel to a warmer destination. So there you have it. Those are our updated 14 tips for cold weather kiting. Let us know if you agree, disagree, or if we've missed anything in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more coming soon. Thanks for watching.